What's up, people? It's Dave, it's Duncan, it's Kyle, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan, Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from Swedish quartet Deville. The band's new album, Heavy Lies the Crown, will be released on September 30th via Sixteentimes Music.
My birthday!
What a gift.
This is, if anyone
It
wants
was
to send
actually on
Duncan
my birthday. It's been
a little
released on-
present, 30th of September, send it.
What?
That's right,
Thanks,
ladies.
Dave.
Yeah.
Send us gifts.
Yeah. You need to get a P.O. box set up.
A P.O. box?
Yeah. Well, unless you want to be giving out your physical address to people online who dislike us generally for our comments and thoughts.
Well, you know.
You get like a standard P.O. box, they send it to that, one of us picks it up, shakes it, makes sure it's not a bomb, and then we're fine.
Give him Kyle's address. 'Cause
I'll never pick it up.
Hasn't there
paying
been
for that.
enough buildings damaged in Norway? I mean,
or not. Anyway, so, formed over 15 years ago, Deville are about to unleash album number 6, Heavy Lies the Crown. During the pandemic, Deville didn't want to put things on hold, so for the first time the band were effectively writing music on demand. It became a weird, long ride and changed somehow. The usual writing process was members writing in different constellations on their own. The first songs were written without any destined direction or theme, so the last ones were more written from a perspective of what the album needed. Having the songs ready in early 2021, the band went through the filter many times more than a Deville record have done before, and made the record more diverse than the band maybe expected. The new music was mixed by Tobias Ekvist and mastered by Chris Guzman at Baseline Audio Labs. So, gentlemen, I came across these guys a few weeks ago. Heard one of the singles, Killing Time it was called.
just killing time. Just killing time. Just killing time. Just killing time. Kiss the world goodbye.
We're getting the whole song, ladies and gents. Sit down and enjoy. No.
Not that song. Well, don't I feel the fool?
Nope, was not Head P's Killing Time. It was Deville's Killing Time. And there was just something about that track. I was like, oh, that's quite a cool guitar tone they've got going on there.
Music video was brilliant.
It was. Cool melodies, vocally. There was maybe a little hint of the Mastodon in places. So I was intrigued to hear
Kyle disagrees.
more from these guys.
Just threw shade at you.
Kyle.
Yeah, hi.
Well, that I'm going to make you go first, right?
This is what I never make eye contact with Kyle. He forces you to go first. Run, save yourself. Ninja Star Bomb.
I just got a massive urge to go to the bathroom.
Heavy Lies the Crown, Kyle. What did you think of the new Deville album?
I mean, I can see why they're compared to Mastodon.
Oh, can you?
I agree with everything Dave just said.
Yeah, what you just said. Let me just read that over again. Hold on. So they're from Sweden, right?
Ooh, that's
they're-
a touchy start with there, Kyle. I know you're feeling
No,
a bit
like
already.
the Swedish-Norwegian relations have never been stronger.
Yeah.
Well, if you see it on the internet, it's true.
All right. Okay.
Right?
Didn't know that.
I'm friends with at least one Swedish person.
Oh, right, okay. That's one more than you,
Country of
Kyle.
several million, and you're friends with one of them, so...
Yeah, it's working out so far.
Okay.
Oh, man. No, they're from Sweden, but you would never guess it from their sound
No,
at all. Like,
didn't
not
think so either.
even a million. If I hadn't read it, I wouldn't guess it in 100 guesses. It would be like, Sweden would be so far down on my list, I'd be like, just shoot me, you know?
I thought they sounded very stereotypically Swedish, but there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Taking the piss. Fine.
I mean, like I said, I can see why they've been compared to Mastodon and stuff, but I think they're still doing their own thing in a large way. Like, they're not just saying, oh, we love Mastodon, here's a bunch of Mastodon riffs. It's like, no, they are equal parts rock, dark, riffs, and bass. Like the first thing, obviously for me, the first thing that struck out to me is, holy fuck, I can hear that bass, and god damn, is it good. I think I read in the notes that they had a new bassist a few years ago, and he brought a certain edge to the band. I'm like, I'm glad he did.
He brought a bass guitar.
Yeah, he bought a bass guitar,
Nice.
and he was like, he just sat there. He got the guitarist to play it. He just owns it. Wouldn't be the first time this happened to me. Anyway, what I liked about it is like, mostly when on the first listen, I was like, okay, this is really good. I quite enjoy it. It's easy to get into. It's not the most complex music or the most difficult thing. It's not like, technical death metal or anything like that. It's really, really easy to sit down and listen to. It's not growling. I love the style of his voice. It's not growling, but it's not clean. It's like right in the middle. It's a bit closer to growly. It's very gruff and a bit husky, and I quite like it. Not something you expect out of a Swedish person, but there we go.
Wouldn't know, Kyle. Wouldn't know.
No, well, I like the. I just like the whole thing. It's easy to get into, and when you listen to it over and over again, like I have done, you start to pick out more little details in the riffs and how very tasteful they are. There's not like a lot of wankery and showing off for no reason. It feels like everything's very well crafted for the sound they want to do, and I quite appreciate that because they don't stray too far away from the sound they are, but they've got a lot of variation in the songs. It's like there's some good flow to the album. There's like lots of slower parts, some quicker parts, some more staccato riffs, like on the song Serpent Days. Couldn't see the name. Serpent Days. It's very, very staccato. Like the riff is like da 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 da, but a lot of the other riffs on the album are quite a lot more like flowing and flow over very easily. But I quite like that they could keep it all very cohesive while being quite varied at the same time. So it was a really interesting album to listen to a few times in a row even, and the bass was especially good. This is their fifth or sixth, right? It's but
Sixth,
you can
I
tell.
think.
Yeah, I think it's a sixth, but you can tell they're like seasoned professional musicians at this point. There's no like, you can't hear any like fuck ups or anything, even though I think there's very little studio fuckery and editing on this. The drums sound real. They might be reinforced by samples, but they're not like completely replaced or anything. It sounds really good. The production is exactly what it should be. It's fantastic. I love it. It's not raw, but it's very organic, if you know what I mean. I would absolutely play bass in this band if they asked.
Okay. Would you move to Sweden, though, Kyle?
Nah. That's a step too far.
Might be a deal breaker. Might be a deal breaker.
But I bet if you saw this live, it would be absolutely fucking amazing. Like some of the stuff that's on this is just like, yeah, come on. It's like some of it's so very energetic and really like grabs you, or grabbed me at least. So I thought if they come through live, I'm absolutely going to see them. Whether it costs 300 crowns or not.
There's a conversation to be held off this recording.
Yeah.
Like the setup to that joke, which no one will get.
No, not at all. But no, I liked it a lot. I played it quite a few times, more than I usually do, so that's a good thing. I think it will stay in my rotation. It might end up on my end of year list. I don't know, maybe.
Ooh.
It's pretty good. Liked it a lot. Yeah.
Interesting.
Digging the sound quite a lot. So yeah. Good effort from me.
It was a good effort from you, Kyle. Thank you for listening to that album.
I'm not rating you a banana, Kyle. So, just so you know.
You can rate my banana later.
Oh, hello.
You've not been on that website, no.
Rate my banana.
Yeah, don't do that.
KyleBanana.com.
Yeah. Waffle.com.
Wow.
Easy.
Interesting.
Sorry, .org.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of the band before hearing this single, so I didn't really have anything kind of to compare it to. Initially, anyway, I did listen to the album before, Pigs with Gods from 2018, just to see what, if anything, had kind of changed between that album and this one. That album definitely felt slightly heavier than the albums that came before that. Even it was quite a heavy album, predominantly kind of sitting in that kind of sludgy, kind of stoner kind of territory. And although this new album has a lot of the similar kind of tones and ideas, I agree with you, Kyle. I don't think they've released the same kind of album again. Whilst that last one might have been heavier in tone overall, I think there is a bit more experimentation on this. I think it's an album that's probably more varied in tempo than the last one as well, and you get that from the opening track, No Sun, which is, you know, very much a kind of bit more kind of high octane, drives forward, there's plenty of attack to it, and it's like a kind of track that does as an opener should, kind of gets you kind of amped up for the rest of the release. And then obviously they drop in Killing Time after that, which was the single we checked out, which kind of showcases the heaviness and the more kind of groove laden side of the band. It's a banger of a track. I really dig that track. It has got a bit, you know, we've mentioned it already, it's got a bit of Mastodon in there, a little bit of Cobra the Impaler as well, that kind of like a similar kind of vocal cadence, and it's got a really thick kind of low end, with some quite cool kind of harmonising guitar parts as well. I can totally see why they released it as a single. It does kind of grab you by your gonads, and it's, you know, it's much heavier than the opening track as well, so it kind of gives you like another side of the band. Out with the kind of like the tempo changes, pretty much this album does kind of sit within that kind of like sludge rock kind of stoner vibe for most. There are little elements, a little bit kind of psych rock kind of thrown in the guitar work, a little bit on Hands Tied, where they do lean into that kind of cleaner, more atmospheric guitar. And there's also some more kind of progressive moments on like Serpent Days and Embrace. You know, the riffs feel a bit more kind of wiry, and bit kind of build up on an idea rather than just coming like kind of firing out of the gate. So it's cool to hear the band kind of experiment with a few different styles and ideas. And some of them are quite subtle, but there is definitely little changes in there. I think they could probably push that cleaner side a bit more, if I'm honest. I think the kind of atmospheric elements of the album really help to kind of create a bit more contrast. I don't think they actually use that enough, in my opinion. Especially, I felt like the back half of the album, I think it starts to become, dare I say, a little bit predictable by about kind of track 6 for me. So I think an injection of kind of atmosphere or maybe ambience might have kind of broken up the album enough to create a kind of shift in tone. I do think they do eventually do that on the album Closer, Pray for More, which is much more kind of slower in pace, more melody, a bit more atmosphere in the guitar work. But maybe it kind of came a little bit too late in the album for me. I think the vocal hooks are pretty good. When they're good, I think they're very on form. A few tracks, I think we just need a little bit more of a push. They were just missing that kind of earworm kind of moment. Like I thought, like No Sun was a great track. Killing Time, Serpent Days, really good track as well. And then there were others that were maybe just a little bit kind of forgettable for me. I think like tracks like Unlike You, I think it should have grabbed me more than it did, because it is essentially a single type track in arrangement and in length, but it kind of left me feeling a little bit flat, like there was kind of like a missing piece to take it to that next level. The good thing about this is, though, is it's a relatively short album, so although it felt a little kind of samey in places, to me it's not an overly long release, just over kind of half an hour, so I think that works in its favour on the first couple of listens to this. Unlike you, Kyle, on my repeat listens, I kind of started to lose the kind of reward in the additional spins, if I'm honest. It just I kind of just kind of heard it, and I wasn't really getting anything more from it after the first couple of spins. Production I loved. I thought the guitars sound really good, really hefty, plenty of crunch in the tone. Drums are really nice and natural. Snare cuts through on the kind of grooves, and the vocals are very, very well balanced in the mix. I think the guy Andreas has a familiar sound to his voice, but it's very kind of easy on the ear, very smooth. But in that kind of lower register, he's got a nice kind of rasp to it as well. I'm kind of in the middle with this one. I think these guys have the tools to make a really great album, but based on this album, I'm not sure how original it's going to be without a change here, to be honest. I think they wear their influences a little bit too much on their sleeve for me, if I'm honest. I'm not convinced that it's unique enough to stand out from the pack, especially when like the kind of leaders of that pack are so good at what they do. I think this is a good album, but it was a little bit forgettable for me. I think the formula is still missing something, in my opinion, anyway. Duncan, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's a frustrating album. once again, on paper, this should be ticking all the boxes for me.
Okay.
They play that kind of sludgy rock sound, which I love. The influences that we mentioned, whether it is like a Mastodon or even like vocally, especially, is very Orange Goblin.
Oh yeah.
So like to me, those straight away are two bands I absolutely fucking adore. That, you know, on paper, like I say, this should really hook me in, and Killing Time certainly does. Like you mentioned it, to me it is probably as close to the perfect single they can pluck from this album. To me, the best song is the one that they go most experimental with, which is the aforementioned Serpent Days. That track really allows them to be heavy, a little bit proggy, you know, space things out. The vocal melody in that track is absolutely sublime. It's got a beautiful warm tone when the grit's not necessarily in it, and it opens up to this really big spacey chorus, which I love to revisit about 3 or 4 times. And by the time it got to the end, I was like, oh, this is just fucking awesome. And it never hits that high again. Like, it frustratingly never hits that high again. The mechanics are all there. Like, they clearly, that's their genre, and they're very, very, very good at it. And that is the frustration, because very much like Dave, after listening to, I really want to go back and listen to it again. Of the 3 albums we're reviewing tonight, this is the one I listened to least. But on paper, should have been the one, notwithstanding the one that we're all desperate to talk about. This of the 2 on paper should have been the one that I wanted to like absolutely bleach, but it just didn't happen. And I think it's a couple of different things. I think, like I say, the component parts of their production's great, songwriting's good, but there's nothing. Not even that there's nothing remarkable about it. Is that you can hear they could clearly push themselves, because they do it in certain parts, and they just appear to be not going through the motions, so to speak, but it kind of feels like they have a formula, they like that formula, so they're going to stick to that formula. Every now and again, they're going to try something, and to me, that's where the reward is. So when they open that sound up, it's so much more interesting, and it makes it sound so much more engaging on the album, so that when they come back to the nuts and bolts, the kind of sludge rock mechanics, it kind of loses something. I would also say, like, in terms of tempo, the album could have done with a couple of quicker tracks, even though the album length itself is relatively short. I know some people out there will be like going, Duncan, that's not right, you just said sludgy rock. Think of the bands we mentioned before. Mastodon are not scared to come out the gate with an absolute thumping banger. Orange Goblin the same. Will hit you with a lot of attack snare and increased pace just to keep things going. It breaks up some of the monotony, which is certainly on the back half of the album. It's all there. Pray for More, the final track, is a great closing track, but I kind of felt like, almost kind of feel like this could have been an EP. We could have stripped some things out. Interestingly enough, from what you were saying in the blurb there, actually explains a lot. If they've approached this kind of free-formed and kind of just, we'll just come with different ideas, and then at the end try to contextualize that by writing songs to fill in the blanks, it's not always the best way to approach an album, because you're not looking at it fully objectively to what necessarily fits. You're more looking at it from, right, we need a shorter track here, something a bit long. You're not looking at it that way. Good music isn't written that way. Good music's written based on a feeling, as opposed to a kind of clinical exercise and constructing an album. So yeah, it's a frustrating listen for me, because like, when these guys are on, it's like food of the gods for me. I absolutely love it. It's my wheelhouse 100%. And then there's not a bad song here, there's just a lot of safe music. And in this genre, the bands that rise to the top are the ones that don't play it safe. They're the bands that write 60-minute prog, like prog odysseys like a Mastodon, or like really delve into like kind of themes and more interesting subject matter, like a Eulogy for the Damned from Orange Goblin. So yeah, I'm a handful of really, really, really good songs on this, and if you're a fan of the band and I hadn't heard of them before this, I imagine you're probably over the moon with this. As a first time introduction to the band, I think there's maybe a little bit too much chaff amongst the wheat. I mean, phrase that no man my age has ever used.
First time I've heard that.
There we go. Chaff amongst the wheat.
Farmer Duncan.
Yeah. Chaff amongst the wheat, by the way, is caw abbreviated to the ER. So, I don't know what we're doing now. Let's end this, please. Let's just end this.
Okay, ratings. Heavy Lies the Crown by Deville. Kyle, what are you thinking?
Well, clearly I'm higher on this than you guys, but I'm going to go 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it a great deal, so there's people out there going to enjoy it. It's me.
Cool. Nice one. For me, probably a 3 out of 5. I think that it has its moments that I quite enjoyed, but as I said, parts of it, a lot of it was kind of forgettable for me. Duncan?
2.5.
2.5.
Yep. For all the reasons I said, I think the 2.5 is for the songs that they really nail, and the rest is sadly quite forgettable. So,
okay. So that is Deville and Heavy Lies the Crown, which is out on September 30th on 16Times Music. I'll put some links below to the band, to their Bandcamp. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Stick some comments in below once you've heard it, and happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.